Hello, beloveds. Today we are talking from the Fundamentals of Unicult on the topic of honesty. If you have your copy of Fundamentals of Unicult, you can turn to page 90. Again, a short chapter, so I will read it, and then we'll go into all the nuances and information that is encoded in this short section. Honesty and authenticity are keys to harmony. Being honest starts within the self. It is important to see the truth of yourself in each reality. It is important to see the truth of your journey and progress. Additionally, it is essential that we are honest with one another. The more radical authenticity and honesty we have, the more true progress we can make. Lies, deceit, and trickery are absolutely never beneficial to any person. These things always cause harm and should never be practiced. Again, understand that we are all one. Your action of harming another will only harm us all. Honesty, earlier I said honesty is trendy, isn't it? And I was laughing to myself because I don't think I've ever heard anybody talk about the importance of honesty. I think I'm alone in this proclamation. I don't. Is it one of the virtues? Perhaps there are so few people focusing on honesty. There are so few indicators in our reality pointing us to the importance of living an authentic life and of being honest with ourselves and others. It's no wonder that we live in this cesspool we call Earth. That is somewhat like a hell. All of our suffering comes from deceit. All of our suffering comes from lying. I was meditating on this sermon yesterday, and I was saying, in my journal, I was saying, I have been through incredible hardship. I've endured significant trauma, and my life has been a daily struggle. But I have never been subjected to the abject horror that is lying. And I really think that that my life, that I have been blessed, and that my life has been easy because I have never lied. The pain and trauma of being a liar is such that it contorts one's soul into an agonizing state of falsity and misrepresentation. And maybe this sounds really extreme to you. I'll do my best to explain my perspective. But I really do stand by this fact of there is no greater torture in my mind than having to be a liar. And there are so many situations in this world, in this life, that I would rather die than lie, personally, because I know the pain and the suffering and the manipulation of the soul that lying does. I'm not saying that all liars are evil people. I'm far from it. I am saying that lies themselves and the act of lying is such a crime against yourself and against other people that the only way to look upon it is as of pity. Because a lie is simply the rejection of the heart. I'll start here. I was at the Lana Del Rey concert before quarantine, and she was late. Lana Del Rey was late to the concert. She was stuck in LA traffic. And I decided to get a glass of wine because I was bored. So I was waiting in this very long line at the Hollywood Bowl for a glass of wine. The line itself took probably about 45 minutes just to get the glass of wine, but I had time because Lana Del Rey was late due to LA traffic. So I was standing in this line, and these two people behind me were in a relationship. And they were arguing with one another. And for the whole 45 minutes, I listened to them argue. It was a man and a woman, and they were probably in their mid-20s, mid to late 20s. And the man was saying, why are you freaking out? Why are you overreacting? I'm just going on this trip. It's a boys' trip. And she was saying, "You're lying to me. I know that such and such's cousin is going, and why didn't you tell me that she was going?" And he said, "I didn't know she was going." And they were just back and forth and back and forth, and they were threatening to leave each other. They were threatening to break up. They were taking turns storming away from each other and then coming back. It was one of the most dramatic things I've ever witnessed, other than fights that I've been in myself. And I sat there and I just listened and listened for about a half an hour. And I finally turned around and I said, "Can I please help you?" Because this is unbearable for me to listen to. And I pointed them out to the fact that their goal should be working together, and their goal should be harmony. But I was meditating on this today, and I was thinking about what I really saw in that interaction, and what I really knew, because I'm a psychic. What I saw in that interaction was actually that the man was a liar. And maybe he didn't intentionally lie about this situation, but I could feel that he has an entitlement to his lies. Because he had an entitlement to his lies, he gaslit his girlfriend constantly in order to maintain his version of reality. His inability to accept himself, and I don't even know if those are the right words, because his entitlement to lying, in essence, was accepting himself. He was looking at the situation and he was saying, well, I'm allowed to do this and no one should tell me I can't, so I have to lie. His feeling trapped in that situation made it so that he was reverberating out dishonesty, and also because he felt entitled, he was gaslighting his girlfriend, who was probably correct that he had manipulated her in the past, and she was probably correct to distrust him. And he was saying, "You're crazy, you're overreacting, this isn't a big deal," and she was really upset, because she was tuning into the truth of the reality, which is that he was not an honorable, trustworthy person. What a mess, right? Thank God it's not my life right now. What is interesting about this whole situation, I think, is the compassion you can have for both of these people. Obviously, the girl is trying to orient herself in her reality. She's trying to understand, is this someone who loves me? Is this someone I'm safe with? And he was telling her one thing, but doing another thing. And so she was precipiced on this reality. Anytime you're being gaslit, you're being precipiced on a reality of perceived safety, but also the truth of reality, which is not safety, which is not authenticity, which creates a web of misunderstanding, which creates unstable ground, which creates instability within the psyche and within the heart and within the reality experience. So what does this all mean? Our reality is fundamentally controlled by our emotional state. Our reality is controlled by our perception of it. How we choose to interact in reality, how we choose to make decisions and move forward and manifest things and protect ourselves and align and make boundaries, is all due to our perception of reality. If our perception of reality is skewed because someone is giving us false information, then our entire compass, our entire system of understanding the world, our entire ability to make decisions, to set boundaries, and to move forward is corrupted. So from this example of a simple couple who is going through something that many of us have also gone through, we can expand our understanding of deceit and lies to the truth of reality, which is timeline manipulation. When you tell a lie, you are creating a false timeline that is not rooted in physical reality. I have used the example in the past of if you're cheating on your partner, and I mean, cheating, I think a lot of at least in my life I've seen, is one of the main reasons why people lie, because they feel entitled to being with other people, but they don't want to deal with the consequences of their behavior. So they create a false reality where they say, I'm going to hang out with some friends, but really they're going and having sex with somebody else, or they're doing something that is deceitful. So what just happened? You're creating a split in the timeline. You're creating the true timeline, which is physicality, which is how you really feel. How you really feel is that you want to go sleep with somebody else, right? But you're creating a false timeline of you going over to your friend's house. So your partner is then getting the false timeline of you going over to your friend's house. What's funny about lies is that in our intuition, in our deepest hearts, we always know the truth. We always know the feeling truth. We do our best to ignore it so that we can orient ourselves in this ego-based, trauma-based, deceit-based reality of Earth, of our society right now. So you're in a marriage and somebody says, I'm going to hang out with my friends, and in your heart you kind of know that's not true, but are you going to crash your whole marriage down based on your unfounded suspicion? Probably not. So you say, okay, you're going to hang out with your friends, and you start to get more frantic and uncomfortable because the other person is lying to you, because you're living in a false timeline, a false reality that isn't actually aligned with true reality. Some people prefer this, which is just madness. They say, I don't want to know. Don't ask, don't tell. I don't want to know the truth. I don't understand that, because when you know the truth, you are actually unlocking the truth. How else can I explain the fact that the only truth is the truth? How could you want to live in a reality that is not simply the truth? Any fear that you have about the truth is rooted in misunderstandings of divinity. This is a Course in Miracles teaching. If you can trust that the divine reality is the most loving, compassionate, harmonious reality that possibly exists, then you can understand that all of these lies and deceit are simply closing your eyes to the beauty and the perfection of true harmony. My interpretation, my theory of Unitopia revolves around a principle theory that each of our hearts, when calibrated with our own truth, is aligned. That each of us, when we are vibrating on the truth of the frequency of the divine source, ends up harmonizing with all other realities around us because they are also authentically vibrating on the truth of their own heart. Unitopia, our paradise reality, depends on our ability to be honest with ourselves and to be honest with each other about what we want and what we need so that we can support one another in those endeavors. The truth is the truth. To ignore it is only to limit progress. Progress is always happening, but it doesn't happen as quickly or as fully or as enjoyably as it does unless we are telling the truth to ourselves and to others. When we're understanding deception, we have to take a step back and understand that we're all one. We have everything inside of us that we can possibly need. We have the entire universe in our ability. How can you as an individual become more aligned with your own true heart? How can you as an individual become more honest with your friends and family about who you are and what you need to be supported? How can you be more honest about your boundaries and about things that are triggering you and traumatizing to you? But your experience is just your experience. It is a microcosm of the whole. We also have to pull back and understand that the reason why you are a liar, or why you've been lied to by other people, or why lies are prevalent in our reality is because fundamentally Earth society has been built on deceptive mechanisms of manipulation. When we're understanding the trauma of Earth and we're understanding the confusion and corruption that is all of the toxic systems that exist, capitalism, patriarchy, racism, etc., the fundamental root of it is deception. The fundamental root of it is creating a false reality due to trauma. When we have trauma in a society, it becomes perpetuated. What does trauma have to do with lies? If you are traumatized, you don't feel safe. And if you don't feel safe, how are you ever going to be true about who you are? Children who are playing and having a good time, and their parents say, "Stop that right now. You're bothering me." At that moment, the child goes within themselves and develops a form of trauma, a form of separation from their truth. And they say, "Oh, I'd better learn how to manipulate my reality to match up to my parents' reality so that I can be safe, so that I can belong, so that I don't get starved and left in the woods," or whatever used to happen to kids, or what still does happen to kids, right, whose parents are neglectful. The trauma of our lives, the trauma of society, creates ego. Ego is simply this shadow reality of deception that we are all living in. The idea that we're comfortable going to work every day, the idea that we have the same amount of energy, the idea that we're happy in marriages that last our whole lives, generally speaking, for most people, that happiness goes up and down, right? But we have these illusionary boxes that we put on the top of everything, and we say, you get married, you're happy forever, that's it. And we ignore the truth of reality. There are so many different facets of this. It appears everywhere, and I think the easiest way to understand it is in relationships. So when I say, okay, you got married, the way that you're supposed to be after you get married, right, according to our society, is simply happy. Happy every day, moving forward. Oh, you're married, you're fine, you're done, you're good, you got it, it's over, right? But the complexity of the relationship every single day, waking up with all the hardships of life, causes that authentic relationship to go up and down. Your authentic experience with one another is not simply one checkbox of marriage. The truth of your reality is ever changing. But our society has these boxes of expectation which are predicated on trauma, which also feed back in as a feedback loop, which perpetuate our trauma, because as we lie to ourselves, as we say, well, I can't complain because now we're married, or I can't complain because I need this job, or I can't tell the truth because I won't be accepted for who I really am, and I'm not safe to be who I really am, that is the trauma cycle. There are so many manipulations of our emotional energy that perpetuate this trauma cycle. These manipulations of energy cause us to feel unsafe to be who we really are. They cause us to feel unsafe to allow other people to be who they are. When you are thinking about lies and lying and authenticity, you have to look at the other side of the coin, which is, are you allowing other people to tell you their truth? Are you capable of holding space for someone else's emotional experience? Are you capable of holding space for someone else's authentic desires? This is unconditional love. As we hold space for other people's authentic desires, we allow them to work through the shadows. We allow them to figure out their trauma. We allow them to ascend in whatever way they're capable of ascending to their highest self, to align with the spirit of uni, to align with God, to align with their higher self, to align with the true harmony of reality, which is in harmony with all of us. The more space we can make for one another to live our truths, as long as we're not harming anybody, including ourselves, the more we will be calling in Unitopia. To be honest with yourself is to listen to yourself, to ask yourself, what is truly making me happy? What is truly harming me? You might find at the root of it that what you thought used to make you happy might not make you happy after you go through a period of acceptance. What are the places where your authentic emotions are being repressed. Your authentic truth is being corrupted. Shadow work is all about authenticity. Listening to your true feelings, acknowledging that your negative emotions, your outbursts, your traumas, your triggers are all valid. They all stem from some place in your childhood, some place in your life where you were not listened to, where you were asked or forced to shut up, to close your mouth, to get back in line, and to not express your true self. And you weren't safe to be who you really were. You weren't safe in your body, you weren't safe in your home, you weren't safe in your family, you weren't safe in your community. So you had to manipulate yourself in order to try to fit into these boxes. That is the root of all suffering. It's the root of all pain. Listening to your true heart, listening to your trauma, listening to your true feelings, listening to and validating everything that's ever happened to you, everything that is happening to you, is the start on the path to Unitopia. There are some fun caveats with honesty and authenticity. For instance, what if you are harboring someone that is not a criminal, but that the state sees as a criminal, right? For instance, an undocumented immigrant. What if your neighbor comes to you and says, ICE is coming after me, they want to deport me, but all my family and kids are here and I need to stay. And they say, can I hide in your house? And you say, sure, fuck ICE, right? And so ICE comes to your door and they say, is so-and-so here? We want to deport them. Should you tell the truth in this time? And this is just an extreme example of when you know that your authentic truth is not going to be received, when you know that you will experience great punishment or endangerment for yourself or others if you are dishonest, if you don't tell the truth of reality, what should you do? It's a difficult situation, and this is on your plate. This is for you to decide. But from my perspective, any time that I would personally be endangered for not telling my truth, I wouldn't care. I would tell the truth. If someone else's safety is involved, then I would definitely lie. I would definitely lie to corrupt powers, to protect someone else. I said earlier, I would rather die than lie. That doesn't mean that I would endanger other people for telling the truth. But if someone came to my door and they said, "Are you Unicole, Unicron?" If you say yes, we're gonna punish you, and if you say no, we'll leave you alone. I would say yes, because I would rather look my abuser or the corrupt energy in the eye and blast my truth, because I do feel that is, on a soul level, more powerful. I would rather be a beacon of truth than maintain the safety of my body, because truth is eternal. Truth is forever. And I know that I'm extreme in that fashion. I'm not saying that you should be this way also. I was born special in this way, where my radiance and my ability to see real reality and my need to hold on to my authenticity is such that is where I'm at. As you become more authentic, as you learn to see your own truth, you actually can see other people's truth as well. I have a really great pamphlet. Let me grab it. Let's talk about trust. I have this pamphlet called Finding a Cult Leader You Can Trust. Okay? And the idea of trust is very interesting. As you listen to your true heart, as you listen to your true self, you ascend into a way of being where you can actually see the truth much more easily. Like I said, our ability to see the truth always exists. When someone lies to us, there is a seed of knowing in your heart, because you are truth, because truth is. You are absolutely entitled to always know the truth at every point in time. But the less you live in the ego-based, trauma-based, contorted reality of limiting your light with lies, the more you will have the vision and the understanding and the intuition of what is true and what is false. This is how you become a psychic. So what is trust? Trust is one of the most joyous emotions in the universe. When you can truly see that the universe is in alignment with the highest good for all, we have some presuppositions here. You have to have the ability to see the truth of reality as the highest possible good for all, including yourself. You can let go of all negative emotions and feel the protection and freedom that trust allows. Unfortunately, very hurtful, detrimental, and terrible realities do exist around and within us. The higher you rise above your own internal pain, the more joy you emit into your world, benefiting all. Every person is a spiritual leader. When you heal yourself, you heal the world. You are a spiritual leader. What is trust? How can you trust someone? I always say you can trust somebody as far as they know themselves. Because if someone knows who they are, they will be honest with you. But where people have blind spots, they will hide those blind spots. Where they have shame, they'll hide that shame. And they will create a reality of deception around themselves. Trust is something that you give to somebody else, whether they will honor it or not. Just because you trust someone doesn't mean that they're going to uphold that trust, right? A lot of us have had our trust broken by someone else's activities or behavior. Trust is your belief in a mutual understanding of respect. Despite the fact that everyone is always doing the best that they can, your own well-being requires that you find trustworthy people to trust. So how do you trust anyone to have your best interests in mind, let alone a cult leader? This is about finding a cult leader you can trust, but it talks about the concept of trust. Everyone deserves to be trusted to the highest level of their frequency or own joy. Like I said, you can trust somebody in as much as they know themselves. If you have a very depressed person, an addicted person, someone who's been through a lot of trauma, someone who can easily live in the world of ego, you might find that their ability to tell the truth is not as high or not as pure as someone who trusts themselves, who lives in their own joy, and who has no shame. Shame is the main reason why people lie. That being said, there are a few indicators that someone really does have your best interests in mind. Authenticity, honesty, sincerity, empathy and awareness, respect, and the understanding that we are all one. The easiest way to tell if somebody has your best interests in mind is to find out if they understand the truth of all one. Any individual who truly understands that we are all one will behave in a manner that benefits all and harms none. By living in alignment with this truth, you can understand that all suffering is truly shared, as is all joy. This is similar to karmic return, but it is instant and expansive. Join Unicult. So the idea of trust, the idea of protecting yourself against other people, really comes down to shame. Where are you holding shame? Where is the person that you're trying to trust holding shame? Where are you perpetuating shame in their reality? And how are you asking them to maintain their shame so that they won't be who they really are? Honesty is honestly the best policy. Honesty is the most important thing that you can cultivate in this world if you want to bring about a better world for yourself and for your children and for all the other humans. Because in an honest reality, in an honest, authentic experience of life, we make room for ourselves to be who we really are. We make room for ourselves to have our true desires met. And we make room for ourselves to be respected in the way that we truly deserve to be respected. I love that sermon. Thank you so much. If you have your Uni Planner, Highly recommend you get one if you haven't already. You can do your Unicult practice. Your Unicult practice today is to ask yourself, in what ways are you honest when it's difficult? You don't need to focus on any lies. Let's just focus on our truth. In what ways have you been honest when it was difficult? In what ways did you speak up about your boundaries or your needs when it was hard to do? And in what ways have you told the truth of your heart, even though it was scary? Those are the things you can celebrate. After you find the things that you can celebrate, the things that you've been true about, then you can have a little party for yourself. Make yourself a little cup of tea, drink it in a nice glass, get yourself a little snack of some fruit or a little cupcake, take yourself out into the sunshine, or just enjoy your day and celebrate your success of being authentic and of being true, even though this world makes it very difficult. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have a wonderful Sunday, and I'll see you next week. If you're in Unicult, please head on over to the Discord server where you can have a chat with every other Unicult member in the audio video chat chill zone, and you can talk about the sermon, and you can talk about your Unicult practice, and you can tell everyone how you are going to celebrate yourself this week for being true and being honest and being authentic. Uni bless.